What is up, everyone? Welcome to episode number 25 of the Nord and Block podcast. It is Wednesday, October 30th, 2024. When this episode comes out, it will be a spooky special for you guys. And boo! We're back. I am your host, Nordic, with my other host, LeBlock. It's been our first episode in a while. LeBlock, how we doing?
We're doing pretty good. I know we had a little bit of a hiatus, but we back in full force.
It's all good. It happens to everyone. Let's get into this episode back, talking about some trades around the NHL recently. So, when we last talked, every team had played, I think, like 4 or 5 games. Now every team has played kind of 9 or 10, and we have a pretty clear picture of, or for some teams, we have a pretty clear picture of what they are, what their team is, and also the things they need. And Utah explained that very well in a trade late last night, where they acquired Olli Maata from the Detroit Red Wings for a 2025 third-round pick that belongs to the Rangers. So I believe that pick with the Rangers actually was in the Patrick Kane deal, so cool component there. So Utah picks up Olli Maata, who I think was a second or third pairing defenseman on Detroit. Now, Detroit doesn't have a lot of very good defensemen, but from what I've heard from some of my Wings friends, he's actually not that bad, to be honest. And they really, I think with Utah, they have so many injuries and are just so depleted. Losing Dursey, not even having Marino to start the year. I think getting someone like Maata as an extra body on that blue line, I think really benefits this team.
Yeah, you look at Mata. Mata was a good he was a third pairing plug and play kind of guy. He was like in and out of the lineup.
Right.
Defensive defenseman, but some games you saw with Detroit, he had some offensive explosions. I think it's a good trade for Detroit and for Utah, because I'll be honest right now, Olli Maata is not really worth a third round pick. I'd say they kind of maybe a little overpaid a little bit for Maata, but
Probably. But they need
they
defensemen, so.
do need defenders, so I think it is a fair deal. From Detroit's end, I like the pick they got back. The only concern I would have, and I said this to my chats when it happened, if I'm a team that is not great defensively and lacks defensive depth, why would I be trading a defender? Unless I got overpaid for it, which is what happened. So you look at Detroit. Hall's played well. I think Hall really earned that spot now. So going forward, I feel like it also gives a chance for a guy like Albert Johansson to come up into the lineup and make sure that a guy like Marco Kasper stays up now, because now they won't be over the roster limit. So, yeah, I think it's a good trade all in all for both sides.
Yeah, I think I think both teams kind of win this deal. Detroit already, as it is, had a lot of bodies on their blue line. Coincidentally enough, they're not good bodies, but they're still bodies. Um, they had Justin Hall as like their 7th defender for a point there. I think they even opened the season with him not even playing. So getting Mata out of there and probably giving Hall that permanent spot, I think is a good thing. And then again, Utah just needs defensemen. Now, the other trade that happened today involved Toronto and the Sharks. So it's an interesting one because Timothy Liljegren with Toronto's blue line is another guy, and it's cool that like these guys were traded around the same time because they're both in kind of similar roles. Mata kind of found himself outside of the lineup a couple points, and Liljegren has also found himself out of the lineup at a couple points this season. So he gets dealt to the Sharks, which he will get a ton of playing time there, in exchange for Matt Benning, a conditional 2025 third round pick, and a 2026 sixth round pick. So this is showing that the defensive market right now is going insane, to be honest. And I think that San Jose acquiring Liljegren, I think, is a good move. I mean, the Sharks already, they brought in a lot of new bodies on that blue line as it is, but I think getting Liljegren does help out that depth a little bit. And who knows, maybe playing with San Jose, maybe he looks a little bit better and you can use him as a trade candidate. Insert laughter here. But yeah, that's kind of what I think with that deal. I think Toronto probably wins it. They get a little bit less cap space, I believe.
You look at San Jose and what Mike Greer has done the past 3 months with the defenseman he's brought in. I believe he's brought in Cody Ceci. He's brought in Logren, and there's one more guy that I am forgetting. I'm totally blanking on right now.
Wallman.
Wallman, yes,
Wallman.
excuse me, yes. And Wallman had a great game last night.
Yeah, Wallman.
You look at those guys for a team that defensively, their defensive prospect pool isn't the greatest. So those are quality sit-ins right now. Wallman, I think, is
Right.
good for the future. Logren's a young defenseman with something to prove. That's good. CC's a placeholder right there. So you look at this from San Jose's point of view, and this is to fill bodies. This is to get more talent on the roster, and I like this trade for San Jose. I think Logren didn't fit in Toronto at all. This wasn't a good fit, so it gets him a fresh start. Definitely more playing time.
Yeah, also going back to Matt Benning, who is going to Toronto. He will most likely be their new seventh defender, but I think that's a good spot for Benning. I think Liljegren's someone who should be in a top six lineup or a six defenseman lineup. And Benning, I think, is more fit as the seventh defenseman. So I think that's a good input there. Other news while we're on the Maple Leaf, Jake McCabe signed a 5-year, $4.51 million deal. LeBlanc, as the Leafs hater, how do you feel about this one?
It's good. It's a good contract. Good deal. I like Jake McCabe. I think he's a little underrated. I'm not gonna lie. I do like his defensive game. Good contract, good term, good AAV. I really do like this deal for Toronto. He's a solid. He can be up on your top pair, but he's a good second pair guy there for the Leafs. So I really think Treliving hit this one out of the park.
Yeah, I think that Tree Living did a great job here. He actually does love giving big contracts to old guys. The contract actually has some deferred money. It's not like the Jarvis one where he has like a ninth year and he's getting paid. There is some money that will get paid to him extra between the 2 year and the third or the second year and the third year of that contract. So good move there. We're seeing a lot more of deferred contracts kind of pop up in news recently. Alexi Lafreniere signed a 7-year, $7.45 million extension. I think this is wholeheartedly a terrific deal. You see Lafreniere is slowly, gradually improving. And LeBlanc made a tweet today. It's not often LeBlanc makes a tweet like this. LeBlanc, you want to read off what your tweet was?
Of course I do. So
Let me put
I just refreshed. Hang on. It just
him on the spot.
so top. So we look back at the top four of the 2020 NHL draft class, looking like one of the better draft classes of recent memory. These are
Right.
their starts. Their starts as of when I made this tweet this afternoon. So Lafreniere, he has 4 points. Sorry, four goals, 4 assists in 9 games played for 8 points. Byfield, no goals, 4 assists, 4 points in 10 games. Stutzla, 5 goals, 9 assists, 14 points in 9 games. And Raymond, 1 goal, 7 assists, 8 points in 9 games. Raymond had 2 assists tonight, so that's now 1-9. That's now 10 points in 10 games. So I didn't make this tweet any malice intent. I just made this tweet saying, hey, these are the top four guys that we said we were going to compare come this time, and now the time is to compare to start out the year.
You didn't even mention Jake Sanderson is off to a pretty good start
Yeah,
offensively.
I wanted to keep it with the forwards. Just
Yeah, I get why, but again, like shout out to him. He's the fifth overall pick. But yeah, going back to the Lafreniere deal, I think that it's terrific on all cylinders. Getting him, I mean, it is a 7-year deal. Getting him below 7.5, I think, is great work by Drury. Now he has Shesterkin and Keandre Miller to lock up, so that's his next
yeah,
task.
I think this is I think this deal is gonna age like wine. Like
Hundred percent.
you got him. I think a market for him was 8, and then you got him below the market value of Lafreniere, and he gets better every year. I want to see Lafreniere in the future get some power play time because I know the whole range is like, oh well, if he played on the power play, he'd be a 100-point player. Well, I want to see that happen. I want to see that happen before I make any judgments on that. But yeah, no, this deal is really, really good. He cooked. He cooked.
He really did cook. He did a great job with this one. There weren't any other notable deals that really striked me. Alex Toropchenko signed a $1.7 million deal.
Solid.
Yeah, solid deal for him. Jake Neighbors, I think, we haven't recorded an episode in like 10 years. Jake Neighbors signed a 2-year, $3.75 million deal. Neighbors, good offensive forward. It shuts down the rumors of the Oilers going on and off or cheating him because we heard that in the offseason for the Broberg and Holloway. Which, by the way, I'm wearing St. Louis. Both of those guys have looked terrific
They
for the
have.
Blues. The Oilers have just looked subpar so far. And again, it's early, but seeing those guys off to a start makes the Oilers look a little bit stupid. One thing that I want to talk about, it involves the New York Islanders. You're gonna have to bear with me here. So Matt Martin signed a 1-year league minimum deal with the Islanders, and there's been a lot of controversy around that and Lou Lamoriello and Patrick Waugh after their game against the Florida Panthers on Saturday, the 26th. Yeah, I think that's the right date. So I'm reading an article here from, I think it's Fisherman Hockey, so credit to them. Ahead of the game, Lamoriello addressed the media to announce a series of transactions after the team moved Anthony Duclair, who's hurt, to LTIR. Liam Foudy was sent down to Bridgeport. Pierre Engvall and Hudson Fasching were called up from Long Island, or were called up from Bridgeport to Long Island. And Matt Martin, again, as I said, signed to a 1-year deal off his PTO. Lamoriello cited that his physicality on the ice, presence around the team, and leadership in the room is what made him come back. Now, while Lamoriello was explaining the roster moves, Patrick Waugh was not made available for this pregame kind of conference, which is, first off, a violation of the NHL rules, and second, a little bit concerning because of how you see, usually this doesn't happen, but not allowing Waugh to come and speak is a little bit, kind of makes you think that maybe they butt heads on something here. Now, the game transpired. It is after a awful loss. They blow a 3-0 lead in the third period. Tell me where you've heard that before. They lose 6-3. And in the press conference afterwards, Patrick Waugh was asked about, how he feels about Matt Martin back in the lineup and Pierre back in the lineup. And he said, quote, having Marty back in the lineup brings leadership, experience, and the physicality that we feel. And Lou thinks it's important for us. And then he said, and Pierre, we know what he did for this team in the past 2 years. And Lou thought it was a good moment for him to be back in play. Now, I want you to pull things from this. Notice how instead of we think it was a good moment for him to come back and play, he's saying Lou.
Yeah.
Good idea for him to come back and play. And that phrasing left an impression that, maybe they butted heads on this. And maybe this is just a one-time thing that happens every once in a while. Seeing the Islanders, and since then they have been shut out in 2 straight games. By the way, to teams that they should absolutely be beating in the Islanders and the Blue Jackets, it makes you think that maybe something's going to give here between Waugh and Lamoriello, or maybe something else. But LeBlanc, hearing all that stuff, first off, are you concerned that this might be an issue moving forward?
We've seen coaches and GMs butt heads like quite a bit. Like it happens. Relationships, people butt heads. It's part of it.
It's a business.
It's a business,
That's
yeah. So it's a bit like not we're not always going to agree on a business decision. To have Lou, like it seems like Lou kind of wants them in the lineup on the roster, but Watt doesn't. And I see like when he's kind of calling out, oh, Lou thinks it's good, but maybe he didn't say he didn't think it was good, but he's alluding that he does not really agree with it. This is going to boil. Is this going to boil? It's gonna simmer, then it's gonna boil over eventually.
Probably.
Lou is also not afraid to fire coaches. I want to put that out there.
Nope.
Lou
He's been out for what? How long?
Law's
How
been
many coaches?
they've had 3 or 4 coaches since Lou's been there. But I want to remind you that Lou with the Devils won 3 Stanley Cups with 3 different head coaches.
This is not the Devils,
I know.
by the way.
Yeah,
This is definitely not the Devils in the 90s. Definitely not.
yeah. But
But
I do
I
want to
can see
say,
that.
like, he's known for being aggressive. So, yeah, I do think this will eventually boil over into some sort of confrontation behind closed doors. But I just you gotta deal with the cards that you're dealt in this situation, and I feel like Wah is gonna do that. Well, we might see something transpire from this, we might not, but I do think it's a little bit of a shady way to just throw him under the bus like that.
Yeah, well, I got to be honest with you. I feel like how I don't know. Patrick Waugh seems like he wants the team to play a different kind of style, and Lamorello wants to stick to this physical
The grit
leadership,
and grind of the Islanders,
yeah,
yeah.
grind type of thing with the Islanders, and it worked for a period of time, which is probably why Lou's still holding on to it. But I think it's become pretty clear they have lost in two straight first round exits. They missed the playoffs the year before those two, and then of course those years before that were the times they made it to the conference finals. But like again, like the success has been very limited since then, and I think that it might be time for a change. And maybe we see that in Lamorello. I would be shocked if they fire Wah that quickly, but again, it is Lamorello. You said that he likes to fire coaches, so it wouldn't surprise me. But honestly, LeBlanc, we're going into November here, and they're on a 3-game losing streak. They've only won 3 of their first 10. Do you think there's going to be a change here in November?
If they keep
Just
if they keep going down this slippery slope, I would not be shocked if Wah was dismissed.
me neither. Well, I just said I would be. I wouldn't be surprised if Lou was fired. Why be a little bit shocked?
Yeah, I know Wah just got there, but you look at Lou. Lou is I don't
Lou is the
I
boss. I don't know what I'm saying.
like Lou is the boss, but also like owner. You have to answer to own. He enters to ownership,
Yeah.
and like
At one point, you got to think that the owners are going to have enough,
yeah, I do want to say
right?
that Lou is I don't know how let's say this nicely. He's a wise general manager. With age comes wisdom, so he's wise.
He is very
He's old. Is
wise.
what I'm saying. He's old.
In his 80s, I think. And still having a job like that in your 80s explains why he just likes to roll with the same roster all the time, because it's been pretty much the same roster besides a few new
Yeah.
guys.
So like I think like Lou getting fired seems like a possibility, but I think Wah would be the first to go
Yeah,
because
I
because
guess.
the GM
We'll
usually
see.
covers their own ass first.
Yeah, I guess so. But we'll see where that develops. I want to move on from the Islanders to the Pittsburgh Penguins, and we're going to go through a little trip down Pennsylvania here, and talk about both those teams. But starting off with the Pittsburgh Penguins, Tristan Jarry has been loaned to the Wilkes-Barre Scranton Penguins of the AHL on a conditioning loan. Now, keep in mind, Tristan Jarry was signed to a 5-year, $5.3 million contract by the Penguins at the beginning of last season, or 2 seasons ago, sorry, and the deal started last year. But yeah, it's not looking so good so far. Jari through these first couple of games, I have the stats written down. He is actually 1-1, but he was pulled in one of those games. Has a 5.47 and a .836. And what's crazy is that the Penguins are scoring. Like a lot of their guys are scoring. It's the defense and mainly the goaltending that has just killed them down the stretch. They are second last in the NHL, the block. Second last in the NHL right now.
This sounds so familiar. Where have I seen this before? Teams,
Yeah.
yeah. You look at Jari, and like it's been an abysmal start to the year. Jari, I think Jari's play has declined. Even last year, he wasn't the same goalie after he signed the contract.
I
His
agree.
play's been declining. He's been beaten out by Joel Blomqvist for the starting spot, and Blomqvist has been a breath of fresh air for the Penguins. He's been so good in that net. Still, the defense is still a problem, but he's been miles better than Jari. Even Nedeljkovic has outplayed Jari. And
Yeah.
that's crazy for me to say. Like, Nedeljkovic is a good backup, but he's outplayed. Jari needs to get his mind right. He's go to the AHL, get his mind right, and if he comes back, I know one thing. I'm not sending down Blomqvist. And do
Yeah.
I want to put Ned through waivers? So you guys have to decide, is he worth that? Or you need to somehow get rid of him.
Something's gonna happen.
I
We
feel
may see.
like a
We see a
change. By mid-season buyout is crazy because that usually never happens. But
I don't think that's possible.
I
Is
think
it?
there's a window. No, it's not.
It's
No.
like, well, I know you can mutually terminate contracts, but not a
Yes,
buyout.
but that means he's
Yeah.
agreeing to no money,
Hmm.
which I don't think that's going to happen. I think what happens is I will put this way: if the Senators can trade Corpusalo, the Penguins can trade Jari.
Yeah, probably.
I feel like you're going to see a team who Pittsburgh might give up a first round pick for this too.
Depending on what team
He's
you're giving
got
him to,
what he has after this year. He's got 3 years left.
there's a risk to that too, because what if he leaves to go to another team and then he finds his game again?
But that's very well a possibility.
I don't know. It's just it's one of those things that's like it's difficult to really kind of solve. So they are in like that goaltending triangle right now, and sometimes it works, but a lot of the time it doesn't, and you can tell that it's probably not going to work. And
You look,
somebody's gonna
yeah,
figure
you
themselves
look
out.
at Jari. He's 29 years old. He's on that cusp of 30 years old where goalies start to slow down. If
Yeah,
you look at a team who needs a goalie right now,
don't say the Flyers,
I
please.
wouldn't say the Flyers. Like you look at teams like I was going to suggest maybe a Colorado.
Yeah,
I could see Jari maybe somehow in Chicago.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I mean
Where else?
I could see him. No, I can't see him there. Actually, no, that makes no sense. You could see Jari perhaps if they attach picks in Montreal.
Yeah, maybe.
Maybe
I
these are
don't
all like
know.
maybes.
I think Montembalt's their guy,
Yeah,
though. Well, maybe not their guy, but their guy right now, at the very least.
yeah. Um,
Uh,
you look at no, not San Jose. I can't see San Jose.
no, they got
They got
Askarov. I think
Asker.
there's only it's actually like it's a pretty short list of teams that I think would want to
Yeah.
get Jari.
You look at. I think this will. I don't think he'll get traded this at the deadline. I think look at this looking at off season.
Yeah, this is gonna be an off-season thing.
Yeah.
If it gets
But
in some
the
way.
thing is, will they send it? Will they call him back up? Will they have to do the thing where the Red Wings did last year? Let's carry 3 goalies.
Yeah, well, the Red Wings also had a lot of injuries too with their goalies. I think that if Jari's on a conditioning stint. First off, he didn't get put on waivers. He
Mm.
is, I think he's only down there for 10 days, and that was already like I think a week ago since that's happened. So we're gonna know. We're gonna have good clarity soon on what exactly they're gonna do with that situation.
Mm.
But yeah, right now something's got to change in Pittsburgh. They're tied for last in the NHL. Blomqvist looks solid, but just something has really got to change with this Pittsburgh team. I swear to God, if they drop this far and get a top 5 pick, I'm gonna literally throw myself.
Listen.
Oh,
Kyle Dubas, boy wonder, your move.
it's true.
Yeah.
Yeah. We'll wrap this up with Pittsburgh before we move on to. I guess we'll go to Philadelphia. But do you think that you could see Mike Sullivan be let go?
Yes. I think we said this we did our coaches tier
We
list,
did.
and we had him at the very top.
We did have him at the very top. He was the only person we had up there at the
Yeah.
top. So yeah, I think it's very possible. I just don't know when necessarily. I think maybe you get into November and this team is still in that
If
slump.
we get into the middle, I would say like late November, and they're still second last in the NHL, Sullivan might be getting his pink slip.
I don't think he'll be second last in the NHL.
But I'm saying if they're still like bottom 5,
probably.
because like Pittsburgh's not. I said I was low on Pittsburgh coming into the year, but Pittsburgh's not. The roster is not bad.
They are not this bad.
They're not this bad. Like I think we had Pittsburgh 6th in the Metro. 6th,
Yeah.
yeah. they're not great, but they're not this bad.
Still missing the playoffs, but they're not like bottom five terrible. Like I think we had them at least 26 or higher,
Yes,
honestly.
yeah, because
So
yeah,
yeah,
like last 2 years, this team has like been in the final week of the season in the race.
yeah. I think they're probably going to make a comeback. I think again, like your biggest issue has been Tristan Jari and that goaltending. You get that fixed. I think that this team can
Yeah,
probably go on a little bit of a run. I don't think they make the playoffs, but I think they can still go on a little bit of a run. We'll just see what happens there.
I just do want to say it is still early. We're only 10 games into the season for most teams. But you look at historically by American Thanksgiving is when the playoff pictures kind of like solidify. Like those are the spots that are kept for most of the year by the teams in those slots.
Pretty much, unless if you see a monumental collapse, which the Flyers did last
Or a
year, or
monument,
you see, yeah,
yeah.
maybe there's a team that is just outside, or you're Edmonton.
Or
That's
or
that's the
or
only
you're the
other.
2019 St. Louis Blues.
That as well. Yeah, actually, that too. But yeah, moving on from Pittsburgh to the Flyers, they are in a similar situation. Instead of being 3-7-1, they are 3-6-1. So they have only played one more game, or they have played one less game than the Penguins, which is why they're lower or why they're higher. But Philadelphia was off to notably a really rough start. And a lot of it also can be kind of blamed on the goaltending, but I think a lot of it can also be blamed on just poor work ethic, honestly. Seeing them in those couple of games just get demolished by some of those teams. They only well up to the point against that Minnesota team, they only had one win, and it was in overtime, or actually, sorry, in a shootout.
Yeah.
So it was I mean, like a positive you can pull out of this is Mitchkov. Like he's looked like the best rookie in October. Is
Yep.
probably going to win the Calder Trophy if he keeps this up. But apart from that, there has not been a lot of excitement. Sean Couturier, apart from that 5 point game, just looks like how he was last year. Forster has not looked great to start. He's been scratched. Noah Cates has find himself out of the lineup as well. Delorier looks almost useless out there. Fedorov is not it. I'm sorry, he's not it. Urson, I don't know what to think about Urson. He's looked subpar. But the team has also looked not too good either. So there's a lot of things you can look at with this team, a lot of things you can think about. But overall, as you guys can probably tell, I am not terribly high on this team right now, which honestly, I've embraced the tank. Just being dead honest with you. So,
Yeah, so Philly, unlike Pittsburgh, with Philadelphia, if they're bad, that's not a bad thing.
absolutely.
Because Philadelphia, they're in this kind of retool rebuild. So being lower in the standings for Philly is not a bad thing. I do think that Philly, every game I've watched Philly, I know Evan, you've watched them more than I do. They've looked very, very sloppy. Like I don't think I've seen a more unstructured team on the ice this year than the Philadelphia Flyers. I would say maybe other than like San Jose.
That's expected though with the Sharks. The
Yes.
Flyers last year looked good, and I think a lot of the reason why they've struggled is because teams have figured them out. They figured out how the
Mm-hmm.
Flyers play, and they figured out how to beat that. And again, like I heard someone talking about it today. I think it was on NHL Network. I was listening in a little bit, and they made a good point that the Flyers were a team that would just outwork you and score, and you kind of take away that method of driving the net and scoring on rebounds, and in that way, it's almost impossible for them to score. Like that's the reason why Mitchkov has looked so good. It's because he does plays other than the ways that was scoring last year. So again, I think that this team being bad is good because if we get like a top five pick, God forbid we get first overall, I think like you got your two elite players, you're set. Dead
Yeah,
honest.
you look
So
you look at the Flyers, and like you said like they'll outwork you. That's how most younger teams are run by. Excuse me. Um, that's how most young teams are run by. They're run by work hard, outwork them, outskate them, score off rebounds. That's how a lot of like the young rebuilding teams operate. Like I want to say, like you look at Ottawa with DJ Smith, like not recently, but like back when they were in like the thick of the rebuild. That's how they played: outwork
Yeah.
you, out hustle you, and then score off rebounds. And that's how most of the teams are playing. When you take that away from the team, it is very hard to score. It is very hard to establish offense. Mitchkov actually drives the play, while the other Flyers just chip it, hope for a rebound, hope for a mistake by the defense. Um, you there's been I know there's been some rumblings about torts. I don't know if they're true. I don't know if they're false.
I don't think he
But I
goes.
don't
I don't
think
think so.
if he's gonna go, it wouldn't be now. It would be probably at the end of the year.
Yeah, I don't think they would
And
do
I
that.
don't think they would. I think the best part of watching Flyers teams is that when they get a penalty, you get Torts has that look on his face.
That is the best part.
Yes.
The best part about watching a lot of Flyers games is torts, just to be honest with you. So, yeah, again, I think that there's been a few positives with this team. Mitchkov looks good, Konechny looks good, but the negatives outweigh the positives. But again, like being bad is probably the best thing that could happen to this team. And mind you, they have 3 first-round picks this year.
And one of them, they have their own Edmonton's, and
Colorado.
yes, and Edmonton not looking so hot right now. So
No, they're not. We'll get into that in a second here. So, let's get out of the Flyers. LeBlanc, we talked about the Islanders. We talked about the Penguins. Are there any other teams that you want to talk about in this Metro before we move on?
I have not from the Metro. I guess someone from the Atlantic I want to talk about though, but we'll get into that later. But the Metro, did we talk about the Blue Jackets?
We did not. We can
Yes.
touch base on them a little bit. So Columbus, through the start of the season, they look good. They are 5-3-1 through their first 9 games for 11 points, and just seeing what this team has been through, you can't help but smile. The fact that they're actually playing well for once. Like it seemed like last year and the year before that and the year before that and the year before that, and then you get to 2019. Like ever since 2019, it seems like it's been mostly a disaster, to be honest. Actually, I'd say since 2020, it's been pretty much a disaster. So, yeah, I think it's good to see them playing a start like this so far. And they're playing like good teams, too. Like, they're not playing bad teams, they're playing good
Mm-hmm.
teams.
I do want to say if the season ended today, Columbus would be in a playoff spot.
Yeah, you know who they would play? They play the Rangers. That would be. Wait,
They would play
no, I'm
the
looking at the wrong.
Panthers. Panthers.
They play the Panthers. That would be one hell of a. That'd be
That'd be
like one
interesting.
hell of
That'd be interesting for sure.
That would be. But yeah, I like how they're playing. They played a lot of. I mean, they beat Toronto 6-2. They beat Edmonton 6-1. They shut out the Islanders tonight. They lost to Nashville in overtime, but you got the extra point. They beat Buffalo. They beat Colorado. Yeah, they look good right now. It's just like on it. Honestly, they look really good.
Yeah, Daniil Tarasov has been playing really well as well. I really do. I really do enjoy watching Columbus play. I think Dean Evanson, give him his credit for the first 10 games of the year. Anyway, they're structured. They look really good. Can they keep it up though? That's the big question that we're gonna answer later in the year because I don't want to write them off. I don't want to say they're gonna make the playoffs, but like they're playing very well.
Yeah, I'm with you there. So they are having a good campaign so far. So we'll see where we are about a week or two from now. But right now they look good, and you can't help but be happy about that. All right, let's move on from the Metro. And again, I know there's teams that we could talk about. We could talk about every team. Oh,
No,
LeBlanc, what
one
do you
more
got?
thing. You know what's interesting? Calgary and Columbus have the same record.
They do. We'll get into Calgary in a
Yeah.
second, but that is pretty wild to think. Must be some kind of omen.
Mm.
Who knows? But again, like we want to talk about every team in the Metro. We actually talked about all of the bottom 4 teams. Ironically enough, we talked about all 4 of them. But we're gonna do other episodes where we talk about all the other teams. But kind of want to go through each division here since it's been a little bit since we've done an episode. The Atlantic, LeBlanc. A lot of these teams are separated by 1 or 2 points. It is a zest pool in the Atlantic right now. It is just a shit show. Boston's
There's a
last.
4-way tie for last. There's a 4-way
Yes.
tie.
Crazy.
Yeah, no, I saw
Wild.
that. Boston being last, like something I would not want or expect on my bingo card this year.
Yeah. Not gonna lie to you, it's pretty wild. Again, it's early. They're below 500 too, which is wild.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. Maybe we are seeing like a change of the guard.
And that's what I've been wanting for years. Please, changing of the guard. I know, it's still very early.
Yeah.
Like you look at outside of Florida, who's 15 points right now in 11 games. Um,
Hmm.
Between Tampa and second place in the division and Boston at last place in the division, you're separated by 3 points or less from everybody.
Yeah. So it is just an absolute mess in that Atlantic right now. LeBlanc, what is a team that you want to talk about specifically?
Could we go to Montreal? I feel like Montreal. We got to talk about Montreal. What's going on there?
In a positive way or a
We can
negative?
go both ways. We can swing both ways on this one. I'm going to talk about. I'm going to be the negative. I'm being negative Nancy here.
All right, good
Um,
cop, bad cop. That's how we're doing it. Love it.
You look at what's going on around Montreal. Defensively, they're not playing too well. Marty St. Louis, we mentioned in our coaches video that he might be a guy who could be on the way out. And
I don't know.
it sounds like the fan base is starting to turn on him.
A little bit, but I think this is the fan base being, no offense, being a little bit impatient. Because you got to think, like, you're in what, year 3 of this rebuild? You're not going to get in right away. Like, rebuilds don't happen that fast.
Yeah,
To be
you're
honest.
in year 3. Yeah, no, I say this to everybody. Rebuilds, like, it's not like rebuilds are 3 years, boom, we're back in the playoffs. Rebuilds are
A
like
lot for anyone.
rebuilds are like the shortest rebuild you can have is probably a 5-year rebuild, 4 or 5 year
Probably.
rebuild, and rebuilds can take as long as 8 to 10 years. And you don't believe me? Go ask Edmonton. Go ask Buffalo.
You can just ask any of us because both of our actually, like, you look at me, I'm a fan of 2 teams. Like, all 3 of our teams on this podcast have been in a rebuild for at least 3
Yeah,
years. So, or yeah, at least 5 years
yeah,
up
at
to this
least
point.
5 years.
So,
Yeah, so
yeah, so again, like, it doesn't happen overnight. And I know I sound stupid saying that, but it's not going to happen that quickly unless if you get 2 first overall picks in a row. Even then, like, it doesn't happen that fast.
hmm you look at as well. I'm going to go for the positive now. Actually, one more negative. Defensively, not playing well. Logan Mailloux got sent down today. Just an abysmal tenure of games for him.
He has a good offensive touch. Defensively, he is like atrocious.
And then
Atrocious.
yeah, I'm gonna pivot now to I think he's the most polarizing rookie right now, Lane Hudson.
Knew you were going there.
Yeah,
Lane Hudson, I think, has looked good. Offensively, it's very creative. He looks like. Listen, I know LeBlanc's gonna come at me for this. He does kind of look like with his hands. He does look a lot like Cale Makar out there, with the way he can move the puck. He does look a lot like Cale Makar. LeBlanc's kind of cheesing at me right now. But again, I think that he has some of that attribute that the Habs fans were telling a lot of people, and I think that yes, I don't think he is Makar, but again, like, his defensive game needs to be worked on. And we said this, I think, when we talked about rookies and the Canadians, we said that Lane Hudson's going to score some good highlight reel goals and play really good offensively, but he is going to get embarrassed defensively sometimes, and that's what happens when you're a undersized rookie defender.
indeed, indeed. I do want to say that Lane Hudson, he's crafty. He can move very well with the puck. He's a very good skater. But I will make this very clear, and I think I've said this multiple times throughout on this podcast. If you're a defenseman, you need to play defense. You can't just do all these moves, then give the puck over, and expect the forwards to back check.
At least a little bit. You got to
You
play at
need to.
least a
You
little
need
bit.
to. Like, here's the thing. A guy. I'm not want to compare him to Erik Karlsson, but Erik Karlsson, he's very good offensively. He puts up 80. He put up 70 to 80 points a year.
put up 100 two
Yeah,
years ago.
and so
Forget that.
like his offense makes up for his lack of defense. Hudson is not there yet. I honestly think Hudson would do good spending a little bit of time in the AHL.
I don't think that happens though.
No, with Montreal's depth on defense, it's not going to happen. But I do think, and Montreal for years under the Bergevin regime, it was that Montreal ruins every prospect they touch. And
Well, you
you,
just look at like their top 5 picks through that
the
stretch.
only
Yeah.
prospect that they touched that didn't get ruined is Cole Caulfield.
Yeah, and not even Nick Suzuki. He got traded there.
Yeah,
So yeah,
so it's like I,
but
I think
if
Lane
you look
Hudson is very good. I think he has a lot of work. He's not a finished product by any means. He's got a lot of work to
no,
do. I do, and we all talk about that rookie wall. After 20 games, that rookie wall, where all the rookies are going to hit. Hudson has had very good games. He's had very very bad games though.
yeah,
So
he's one of those guys, especially as a defender in a big market. It's very
yeah, and
noticeable.
when you're in a big market, your mistakes are amplified a lot by
Yeah,
the media.
like even Mitchkov made some mistakes, and some of them do get kind of like not even like as a Flyers fan, like some of them don't even go noticed a lot of the time. But like especially like when you're in Montreal, a big market like that with a lot of very passionate fans, I think that it gets noticed a lot. But going away from Lane Hudson, I think there's been a lot of positives. Cole Caulfield has looked
Caulfield's looked
incredible.
amazing.
Looks like someone who can score 30 goals. Finally,
Yeah,
finally. But yeah, I think Caulfield's looked great. Suzuki's looked good too. Montembalt's been touch and go.
Mo-
I think he's looked solid though.
Montebaugh didn't look good last night, but everywhere else he's been pretty solid.
Yeah, you're gonna have your off game, and
Yeah,
that's Shane Wright's return. Like come on,
yeah.
Wright was gonna destroy them. I don't know if Wright even had a point, but we'll get back to that. But again, Montreal, they're a team of positives, team of negatives. They're only a game below 500 though, so it's a little early to tell. Like are they gonna stay at this pace? I
I
don't
think
think so, but
we said Montreal would be better, but they would still they be a competitive bad team. I think that's how we put it nicely.
yeah, they are like what's a good example? They are like
I
the
would say there were kind of like Buffalo last season, maybe.
I don't think they come as close as
Yeah, but
Buffalo
like
did, but
maybe like Ottawa last year.
probably around that range. Yeah, I would say. I would say that they look competitive, but they're not there yet,
Mm.
and it's very clear. Any other teams you want to touch base on in that Atlantic division that
Why
kind of struck a
don't we
little bit?
talk about what's up with Buffalo?
Yeah, let's look at the negative with the Sabres.
Well, first of all, you're in Buffalo.
Some positive. That's immediately an L. No disrespect. I'm not
I'm,
disrespecting
I'm totally joking. No worries.
you. Great city of Buffalo. Would love to go there someday. Niagara Falls. It's the best city not in Canada. Just being honest right now.
The falls on our side are better. But anyway,
Yeah, I
Tage
just pissed off.
Tage might be back.
He might be. He really might be back. He looks good so far. I'm trying to find his stats real quick, but he looks really good through his first little campaign here.
First 10 games, I think he's. I want to say he's just under point per game right now. If I could find his stats.
Yeah, I think he is just under a point per game. They went from I think a 1-4 record to a 4-5-1. I would say that's a very good. That's a very
Very good
good.
bounce back after the question marks of hey, is Lindy Ruff going to win a game?
Yeah, that was a big question that was being asked. So it's good to see them kind of bounce back a little bit. One guy that I do want to point out though, and again, I know we said we wouldn't go to the negative just yet, but Dylan Cousins.
I knew you were
That
going with
was
that. Yeah,
visible.
He
That guy looks visible.
looks
He
abysmal.
has
The
3 assists.
workhorse from Whitehorse is not looking so hot right now.
He's not working. Well, he might be working, but he's not producing. By the way, Tage Thompson's numbers, I have him pulled up right here. So far, he has 12 points in 10
Yeah,
games with
so
7. So we needed this bounce back from Tage. But going back to what is going on with Cousins, Last year was a down year for him, and seeing him get off to this slow start already makes you a little bit concerned. Like something has to happen here, or else you might be a little bit. And again, like they're winning games though. That's the thing. Like they're not like that far off, which makes it go a little unnoticed. But again, I was scrolling, trying to find some ideas for a video, and I saw that he had like a pretty bad stat line, and I was like, yeah, no. So I don't know. Something's got to give there. How have the goaltending looked in
I think
Buffalo?
the goaltending's been up and down. UPL's had good games and he's had bad games.
It's better than it was last year. I will say that they started off really slow last year. Yeah, I got Luke Conan's stats pulled up right here. Luke Conan has 3 wins, 3.31 and a .890. So he's been a little bit on and off this season so far.
Yeah, not like Lukonen last year ended the season on a hot streak. Coming into the year, expected to be that number one guy after the extension there. Just has had good games and has had bad games. It's not something against him. The team
Right.
overall is not. It's not. I wouldn't say it's a playoff team. I wouldn't say it's a bad team though.
Right. I agree with that. I think that
Kind of middle of the
they're
pack.
good, but yeah, they're in middle of the pack again this year. But it's good to see them kind of producing well. I want to go to a positive team. I want to go to Tampa
Sure.
up next. With the departures of Stamkos and Sergachev being very controversial. So far, they have kind of made us look like idiots. They are 6-3. They're second in that Atlantic Division. Their guys are producing. Kucherov has 14 points. Brandon Hagel and Sorelli both have 10 points as well. So seeing those guys put up numbers like that's great. Jake Gensel's looked good so far. Has 7 assists. Trying to find his goal count here. He has, I guess, 2 goals. So he has 9 points through his first couple of games. So you're getting offense from a lot of guys. Like even Nick Paul has 3 goals so far. Michel Chaffee, I think I'm saying that name right. Has
Chaffee.
3 goals.
Chafee.
Chaffee, Chafee, however you say it, has 3 goals as well. So they're producing on good numbers, and that was something they struggled with last year was their offense and their depth. So it's good to see so far.
Yeah, Nick Paul does it all. I don't know how to say it any better than that. I also, fun fact, I saw Jake Gensel's first ever goal with the Tampa Bay Lightning in person.
Glorious, glorious. You
Um,
can tell your
yeah.
grandkids.
No, Tampa's been a nice. I don't want to say they're a surprise because like they're a good team, but I
Right,
don't think anyone expected them to be start off this high.
right. I agree with that.
I
Um.
want to talk about the Ottawa Senators.
All right, let's go to the Ottawa Senators. They are 5-4-0, 10 points. They just had an absolute wrecking last night against the Blues. But LeBlanc, how are we feeling through these first 9 or so games?
I'm pretty content with what's going on. So like the only game that really like had me like pulling out my hair was the Vegas game when we blew that lead. That's really the only time I've been like really really mad this year. Usually by now my voice is gone and I'm losing my hair.
Yeah, he would be screaming,
um,
probably.
but like you look at the games we played, like Montreal off game, Colorado better team. All Marshall's has been injured.
They looked okay.
Yeah, all Marshall's has been injured. That's the
Yeah,
one
that
thing.
is well.
And Forsberg, outside of the LA game, he's looked pretty solid.
It's good to see, considering the fact that last year his numbers weren't that great.
Yeah, I do want to say Tim Stutzlo looks like he's on another level right now. 14
Sanderson,
points, 40 points in 9 games. Sanderson looks really good. Bafferson's been on a heater.
how's Norris been?
Norris has also been clicking as well. Like I really do. I want to say this right now. I think Baverson might be a dark horse candidate for the Four Nations tournament for Canada.
Yeah, I agree. I think Batherson really could get in there.
Yeah,
There's a few players who have started off hot that might make that
yeah.
team, that might shock some
Yeah,
people.
but Norris looks like he's back. He had a 2 goal game the other night. He's driving the play more, and that's what we wanted to see back of him. And if he can stay healthy, we could be looking at a 30 goal season.
Right. I agree with that. I think through these first few games. They've looked impressive. I just want to say that I am waiting for how November goes because that's always their month where they
Yeah,
just like
that's our biggest
shit.
fear, the month of November. I'll be at the
Yeah.
first November game, home game actually on Saturday. I'll be
Oh, who are they? Who are they playing?
playing Seattle. Alpha back
Oh
to,
boy.
and we're Alpha back to back, so let's ride.
Oh, how fun. But yeah. All right. To wrap up this Eastern Conference, LeBlanc from the East. Who are two teams that you are buying on?
Ooh, I am buying on. I'm buying on Tampa. I'm buying it.
All right.
I'm buying on Tampa, and I am going. I'm gonna say I'm buying on the Devils. I know they're in first. They got a hot start. I like where they're going with this.
Boring. I'm buying on
I
Washington.
didn't.
We didn't
I
talk
yeah. I
about
didn't.
Washington. I'm buying on them, 100%. And then a team from the Atlantic. Hear me out. Ottawa.
This is where we
And I
start.
said it.
This is where we start to crumble. Expectations. Oh, people are taking us now.
Yep, this is where it goes. All right. Here, who are two teams that you are selling on in
Washington.
this? Really?
Yeah,
Okay.
I haven't been impressed with Washington. Yes, they've looked real. They've looked good, but I still don't think they're that impressive.
We'll see how November
Yeah, I
goes.
know. That's why like it's still very early. We've had teams of hot starts and crash and burn.
They
Um,
dominated the Rangers, though.
yes.
Like they dominated them. The
Uh,
game was close because Lindgren sucks, but they dominated the Rangers.
yeah. I am
We'll see.
actually gonna sell Toronto.
I'm surprised, but I'm not.
I don't know. Like Toronto's a team where it's like, yeah, oh, you beat Winnipeg, congratulations.
We
But
knew that was coming.
but but they've had games where they just looked like they can't even cycle the puck.
Right.
They've had they're very up and down. They've had good games and they've had bad games. I want to see
Okay.
more. I want to see more consistency from the Maple Leafs.
Okay. I am selling on the Islanders. That's my first one. And I'm actually selling on the Sabres too.
Okay, that's I. You know,
Everyone else is kind of, still up in the well, I'm obviously selling on like Montreal and Philly and all those obvious teams, but like
are you selling
um
on Boston?
Boston, no. Not yet. I'm not worried yet. We're gonna have just a little spoiler. We're gonna have TKD and Max BJJ on the show soon to talk some Bruins with us. Possibly next episode, but we'll see. But yeah, we'll talk more about that then. We'll have more of a clearer picture because we'll have a few more games played. But yeah, that's what I think right now at the very least. Okay, let's move on to the Western Conference. We have LeBlanc. Where would you like to start? The Central or the
Let's
Pacific?
go Central.
Okay, so I think you cannot start with the Central without going to Winnipeg.
Yeah, let's say let's
Uh,
let's do
Jets,
Winnipeg.
the Jets are 9-1. They are, I think, first in the NHL right now.
Yes,
Actually,
they are.
yes, they are by a pretty good margin, 2-3 points. They just came off of a very good win against Detroit. Kyle Connor looks just unbelievable.
He looks
Unbelievable.
fantastic.
Yeah. So he has points in all 10 of their games, has 17 of them so far. The guy just looks red hot. And it is really fun to watch him play because I've watched a few of their games. I watched the game against the Leafs. I actually watched the game against the Red Wings tonight. And I've watched a few others down this winning streak stretch. So it's been really impressive to see how he's been playing. They all seem to be clicking on all cylinders too. Like Hellebuck looks good. Neil Pionk looks good. And he's in a contract year. So you just cannot but be happy with what you're seeing right now.
You look at the team, like the expectations coming in. I think people were a little lower on them than the media perception was a little lower on the Jets than I think we were. But like Scott Arniel, give him his props. He's done a pretty good job with this Jets team. Hellebuck's on another level. Hellebuck might be gunning for that back-to-back Vezina. Kyle Connor,
Yeah.
scoring machine. Shifley's looked really good too.
Scheifele has looked good. That's a guy that people kind of like forget is playing really well, but he looks impressive too.
Yeah.
So you just like everybody on Winnipeg right now looks good.
Yeah,
Everyone. So
Winnipeg is clicking, but you don't want to peak too early. But
do not. That's very
yeah,
true. The Jets did that a few years back.
yes.
So you don't want to do that either.
But like they're looking good. Like 9 and 9. I'll take 9-1 any day of the week. In the last 10 years, I'll take 9-1.
100% to start the season.
Mm.
Now, I want to go from Winnipeg to another team that has started off a little bit slow, but they do seem to be coming back. Nashville.
Yep.
Nashville started off 0-5. Everyone looked at them a little bit worried. They started winning games now, and I think that again, they're an example of that. You should never wait until um, at least November to judge teams.
Yeah, you don't want to hit the panic button 4 games in.
Yeah, I am not doing that.
Yeah, I know favorites who do hit the panic button. Like we're 0-2. It's over. The season's done. It's over. Wait, no, pack it in. Pack it in. Pack it in. No, you don't want to do that.
Then they win their next game. They're like, the season's back.
Yeah.
Oh my god, we're back. We're so back.
Nashville, rough start, very rough start, but they pulled out some wins in the grit and grind fashion. They need their new guys to click, and once they click, I think this team will be a playoff team.
I agree with that wholeheartedly. This is an old roster that might take a little bit to get going, but once they do, I think they're gonna get up there and start winning some games.
Yeah, I think no one's in danger of getting fired. Like if Brunette got fired, I'd be genuinely shocked.
If this continues, I wouldn't be, but I think that if we get to a point, I will be shocked. So yeah. So another team that I think is also worth talking about is Colorado.
Okay.
And LeBlanc, I want to read off a stat to you. They are the first team since I think it's the 1942-43 season. So we're going back to like the original six era
Yeah.
here that has lost their first 4 games and then won their next 4 games.
It's crazy.
So pretty unreal streak Colorado's been on. And I want to just say that they are so depleted right now when it comes to injuries. It is generational.
They're down like 9 forwards.
Yes, how many injuries they have. They are so depleted that they had to put Oliver Shillington, known defenseman, onto forward. That's insane. Pretty wild.
It's pretty wild. Like that's like you're desperate. That's like you're down bad. Like you just need bodies in there.
Yeah, I want to read off their injuries. They have 7 injuries currently, according to Daily Faceoff. Landeskog and Nichushkin, obvious too. Lehkonen, Tucker Poolman, Jonathan Drouin, Ross Colton, and Miles Wood. 4 of those, I guess you could say, like actually 6 of those 7, but 4 of those guys are top 6 players on this roster, and you're missing all of them. So.
Plus, I'm sorry, Gorgiev's been. I don't want to. How to put this nicely? Ass.
That's the other thing. And what's weird is you would think the injuries they have would be bigger of an issue than Georgiev, but nope. Georgiev's the bigger problem.
I'm not gonna lie. Every time Gorgiev tries to start, I vote for the other team to win.
I don't blame you. Because I would be doing the same thing.
I will.
What develops. Now, LeBlanc, I'm going to read off a few names here for you, and you tell me if you know who these people are. Nikolai Kovalenko.
Yes.
You should know who it is. Okay. You know who Kovalenko is. Ivan.
World Juniors legend. Yes, I do know who that is.
TJ Tynan.
Nope.
Chris Wagner, I think, actually played for the Senators.
No, he played for the Ducks and the Bruins.
Oh.
But yes, I know who that is.
Who that is. So, you know who Parker Kelly is.
Sens legend, Parker Kelly.
You should know who Joel Kiviranta is.
Yeah, Kiviranta scored that clutch goal for the Stars at one time.
Should know who Oliver Shillington is.
Yes, Flames legend.
How about Matthew Steinberg?
Matthew Steinberg, he's a rookie, I'm pretty sure.
He is. Okay, you know who these people are besides TJ Tynan. So, Congrats, you aren't as casual as I thought you were. But yeah, that's how depleted their lineup is.
Yeah, I
Tell they're in a rough spot.
they are. They'll get through it, but it's gonna be hard. It's gonna be tough.
The fact that
Um,
they're winning though with that is is
y-
is pretty impressive.
yes, I want to talk about another team that I think has got off to a pretty hot start and kind of came out of the blue.
Is it Minnesota?
It is Minnesota,
All right, yeah, that's where I figured you were going. But let's talk about them.
a team where I think a lot of us had this team dead in the water.
Pretty much,
Like they,
fourth or fifth in that division.
yes, they are
Right.
currently rocking 14 points in 9 games played, the 6-1-2 record, having one regulation loss. Pretty damn good.
Yeah, it is pretty damn good, and a lot of those games too. They haven't trailed either. Beating good teams, beating bad teams. They're winning on all cylinders right now.
Mm-hmm.
It's impressive.
Yeah.
Kirill Kaprizov looks like a Hart candidate so
Kaprizov's
far.
been so good. Raw, I
He's
like Ross. He's been really good too. I want to bring up Brock Faber.
Faber's looked good as well. Philip Gustafson emerging as a good goalie again.
Gustafson's going to be every that. You know how the Flyers made it every other year.
Yeah,
Gustafson's good every other year.
that's how it's going to be with them. But yeah, I think that they look good to start. It's a little early to tell if this is going to continue, but you like what you're seeing. John Hines has done a very good job at making this team cook. And again, Kaprizov, Zuccarello, and Hartman have just like been spectacular.
Yeah, no,
So
I like what Minnesota's been. I like the way they've played. Can they keep it up though? Is the question. They got some tough teams coming up on the schedule. So
they do. They are done for October, but in November it does get a little bit
the
difficult.
gauntlet.
Lots of back to backs, a couple home stands in there though too. So yeah, we'll see where that goes for the Minnesota Wild. Are let's move on from the Central Division. I don't think there's any other teams that are worth talking about.
Not
Uh,
really. What about
let's move
Utah?
on.
What about Utah?
Well, yeah, Utah is it's still a little too early to tell for me.
Started hot, and now they've gone to the infirmary.
They're hot now. They're cold now. They look good again against Calgary. It's just a little bit too early to tell. But we'll see.
Maverick Lamoureux, first NHL goal tonight.
Yes, indeed. I'm watching it right now. I'm watching him get interviewed right now, actually. So yeah, I think that Utah a little too early to tell before I can give some thoughts on them. Pacific. I want to talk about the top two teams.
Okay, but I want
Then
to
I
talk
want to
about.
talk about
But
a couple other teams. This is a really like talkative division, surprisingly.
surprisingly, like the West actually has like more points than the East. Usually it's the other way around.
Yeah, the West looks really good right now. So we'll start with Vegas, who is 7-2-1 through their first 10 games. They played tonight against the Kings, so that stat might be a little bit outdated by the time you guys see this, but they look good. Jack Eichel and Mark Stone looking like a great duo right now, putting up most of their points, and their goaltending's put up some good metrics too.
Yeah, I know goaltending was a big question mark coming in for the Vegas Golden Knights, but give them credit. They've looked pretty solid against.
Yes,
He's looked pretty solid. I think Stone being healthy is a big X factor for them. If he can stay
it's
healthy,
really
yeah, if he can stay healthy all year, then they're a playoff team. I was low on them coming into the year. I was really low on them, but if they can keep it up, they'll be a playoff team.
for sure. For sure, I agree with that. So, yeah, with Vegas, I do want to touch base with a recent piece of news that has occurred. I waited until we got to Vegas to kind of bring this up. It was a few weeks ago, but Shea Theodore signed, I believe it is a 7 year, yeah, 7 year, $7.425 million extension, which is, I think, a solid contract. But I want to bring up a stat line that I thought was noticeable with the Golden Knights and their current contracts. Let me find that real quick. So the Vegas Golden Knights currently how they're paying their players. All right, so Vegas's highest paid Big Five. They have Eichel $10 million until 2026. Stone, $9.5 million until 2028. And then Tomas Hertl, 6.75 till 2030. Then you have Alex Pietrangelo, $8.8 million till 2027. And then Shea Theodore, $7.425 million till 2031. So you got a lot of guys locked up to big term deals there, not even including Carlson, not even including Hannafin. Their team, their core is locked up. And that is what happens when you win a Stanley Cup with this roster. So we'll see how those contracts play out. Again, Eichel's a few years from now, so he's not really long term, but still, they got most of their guys locked up to pretty lucrative contracts. All right, the Kings are another really fun team to talk about. They're 5-3-2 to start their season through the first 10 games. They have 12 points. LA has looked better than I thought they would have, to be honest with you, LeBlanc.
Sorry, repeat that one more time. I was not listening.
Of course you weren't. LA has looked a lot better than I thought they have, LeBlanc. Would you
Yeah,
agree?
yes, they have. Sorry, I was just dozing off there for a second. Yes, LA, a team where we're like, they look decent. Jim Heller has them playing I'm gonna be honest, a very boring system of hockey. But hey, it's working. It's working though. That's the thing.
Now, there's a few negatives that I want to pull out of that. Byfield, only 4 assists to start the year.
Bomb.
Little bit of a concerning metric if you're a Kings fan. Tanner Jeannot has also not looked so hot either. So
My biggest op, Tanner Jeannot.
I don't blame you. But yeah, seemingly there's a lot of issues. Oh, they're up 4-0 on the Golden Knights right now. Oh my God, never mind.
Got him.
And Byfield has an assist. So yeah, they look solid right now. Brant Clark has looked good too. 8 assists so far.
My boy, Brant Clark.
Yeah, Warren Fogle has come over as already 4 goals. I think that's a pretty good stat line to bring up. I
That was a guy where they were concerned about his production because in 4 games he had 0 points and they were very concerned. Now that storyline's dead.
Yeah, it is. Kopitar looks good. The goaltending has looked solid so far. There's been a few ups and downs with that game against the Sens being the most notable, but again, just the way the Kings look so far, it's still a little bit early, but you can't help but be a little bit satisfied with the way they've played so far.
Yeah,
For sure.
no, like the Kings, they've had a few stinkers, but they look damn good.
Yeah, and on to the Calgary Flames, who have surprised
Oh.
everyone. They are 5-3-1 for 11 points. Now they are playing right now against Utah. They are losing, so they might be 5-4-1 by the end of this. But again, I think Calgary is off to a very surprising and very good start, quite frankly. Their guys are producing and playing very well. LeBlanc, did you see that thing with Matthew Coronado though?
No.
So apparently, I don't know about it too much. I did not hear about it, but I've heard about it a couple of times. I didn't see it, but apparently, Coronado was reposting some tweets about people saying that he needs to be put in the lineup more and be more respected, and it's made people in the Flames organization a little bit upset.
Damn.
So that was something that I've heard as well.
American player lashes out. Where have I heard this story before?
About thousands of times to plenty of Americans playing with teams in Canada. Um, Dustin Wolf has looked good too.
Wolf's been
I just think
solid.
I just think overall this whole team just is off to a pretty good start.
I
Now
feel
again, I think that lasts no, but still
they're playing off momentum. I think unfortunately the death of Johnny Gaudreau. A lot of people in that locker room knew Johnny Gaudreau. They're playing for him,
for sure.
and it seems like that. Like look at Huberdeau didn't play with Johnny Gaudreau, but Huberdeau has had a great start to the year. But a lot of players on that team, they're playing for him. They're having, and you know what? Momentum is a crazy thing because it could take you highs or take you lows. And think that right now they're on a momentum high right now. So
Rasmus Anderson has looked great. One of Goudreau's best friends, by the way, has 10 points for the first few games so far. So just impressive how they've played so far. But again, I think it's not going to last. I think it's probably going to teeter off a little bit here before.
Yeah, eventually it's gonna come to a head where it's like, but yeah,
Yeah,
but if they trade Anderson at the deadline, they're getting a king's ransom.
they are. They're going to get a ton for him, especially
Mm.
in the defensive market that it is right now. You're getting a ton. I've heard Montreal fans want him.
Ottawa fans wanted him in the summer, but I don't think we do need him, but we're not paying that price.
Yeah, definitely not. And the last team that I want to talk about is the Edmonton Oilers. 4-5-1 at the start of the season so far. LeBlanc, are you hitting the panic button? I'm not.
McDavid's out.
That is true. He is out
Panic.
2 3 weeks.
I'm not hitting it. I'm like, know how you can half swipe on Snapchat? I'm
Yeah,
half swiping the panic button.
half swiping the panic button. Now it's only concerning because they're seventh in the Pacific. If they win one more game, they're third. So that's just how tight it is right now.
Yeah, the Pacific Division is a division of damn, outside of the Sharks, um, between
Every
LA at second and Edmonton at seventh, it's a 3 point difference.
Yeah. So again, like Edmonton is not that far behind as we're saying they are, but there are a few concerns. Zach Hyman only 1 assist through the first 10 games of the season.
Yeah,
Nugent Hopkins doesn't look so hot either. So just overall, like there's a few concerns you can have. But if they can't be 2-9. If they're 4-11, then I'm concerned.
yeah,
But I'm not concerned yet. I haven't seen anything that makes me concerned. The Oilers know what they're capable of. They know what they can do. I think that's all we'll leave it at to end off this episode. Now, LeBlanc, for the Western Conference, who are two teams you are buying on?
Winnipeg.
Winnipeg's one,
I'm
okay.
buying on Winnipeg. I'm buying on Seattle.
Ooh, I like that.
We didn't talk about him, but I really like how Seattle has looked, and I'm buying on him. Decord's been fantastic. My Vesna pick too. That's-
We'll definitely get into Seattle at some point when we talk about these. I'm buying on Vegas and I'm buying on the Wild.
okay. I don't hate that. I don't hate that.
Who are you selling on? This is a little difficult because like the teams you can sell on, it's kind of hard to
I'm
tell.
selling on Vancouver.
Really, you want to explain why?
Injuries. I think I wanted to say selling them. I think I'm selling them as being. I think they're going to be a playoff team, but I think they're going to be a wild card team. That's what I mean by selling on them.
Okay,
I'm
okay,
not saying they're going to miss the playoffs. If they miss the playoffs, something bad happened. But yeah, I don't like how they look right now. Vancouver. Petey's got to wake up. Petey's got to wake up.
all right,
And when Dago comes back, we'll have another conversation about this. But let's see, I'm going to
yeah.
sell on. I am going to sell on
It's a little hard, isn't it?
St.
There's
Louis.
no.
I'm gonna say St. Louis.
Okay, you want to elaborate a little bit?
They got Pip Smack. End of conversation. They got Pip Smack.
They do. That's two.
Just like outside of Broberg and Holloway looking good, Thomas being out long term. Hofer and Bennington have been eh. Just the whole team is inconsistent.
Right. I'm gonna sell on Calgary,
Okay.
and I'm going to sell on. I'm gonna go St. Louis too.
Okay. Yeah, it's hard, right? Like,
It's hard. That West is hard. It's just like it's so tight right now. You just don't know. So yeah, again, we'll see. We'll see where how these takes stand. These will be posted on the Instagram, by the way. So follow that.
dub.
All right, that's all we got for this return episode of the Norden Block podcast. LeBlanc, any final thoughts for us here?
Oh, I actually have an announcement.
Announcement.
I want to the old LeBlanc cast. I want to congratulate our good friend
Oh yes.
Luke.
Yes.
Luke,
Yeah.
our core co-host Luke got engaged this a couple days
Awesome.
ago. I want to wish him and his fiancee Michaela a very happy engagement. And yeah, congrats, Luke.
That's awesome. Congrats to Luke. First off, well, my final thoughts are that and that the LA Dodgers are close to winning the World Series.
Yay! No Yankees! No Yankees!
They are close right now. It's the top of the ninth, and the Dodgers are up. So we'll see.
My bet might
But
hit
yeah,
then.
you might hit. You might hit on your parlay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that will do it for this episode of the Northern Block Podcast. Thank you guys so much for watching or listening to this episode. We really do appreciate it. If you're new, subscribe down below on the YouTube channel. Give us a good review and tell your friends, and follow us on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Follow the Nord Block Pod Instagram at Nord Block Pod. Follow the Northern Block Pod Twitter at Nord Block Pod. I'm Nord, that's Block. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next episode.
Ciao.
I just do what I do. See me? I just do what I do. Man, I just do what I do. To know about you, I just do what I do. Check. That's the intro. See that? Yeah. I just do what I do. See me? I just do what I do. Yo, check. Let me flip this script. I feel privileged for all who can witness this. I am close to divine. Know the moment is mine, need no omen or sign. Providing a back sound to all the squares that ask around. We getting it, my skills pay me. Trying to get a million, baby, with an adopted flow that God gave me. Me now. Tell whoever runners that they spot is temporary till I take it as mine. I'm selfish. Yo, will tell Miss I'm on my wealth tip. So when we cash out soon, I'm just investing. Hey, no yes men. I've been a legend since before mom and dad had me and was best friends. I chew through comp, don't test them. I chew on tracks, cause after that I bless them. I just do what I do. You see me? I just do what I do. I just do what I do. I don't know about you. I just